Hey y'all, how you perking? I hope you're perking good. So, very different video today. That's why I haven't bothered to put on makeup or do all the crazy lighting or even get out of my pajamas. Because this is a very different video and I won't be right here very long. Ooh, what's coming? What's coming? So, before I tell you what's coming, let me just go ahead and get into some of the basics here. I'm a licensed mental health clinician as well as a spiritual intuitive, and in these videos we do take a look at the tea using the tarot. These are always meant to be helpful, not hateful. So if you're down with that, then please join the family here. We'd love to have you. Subscribe if you haven't already, and check to make sure you're still subscribed. The notification bell should look like that if you want to be notified of videos, but still check anyway. And then if you want to join the Perk Squad for 5 extra perks to this channel, then the join button below or the link in the description is your best way to go. So, I also want to, speaking of perks of the Perk Squad, I want to use one of the perks, which is shout outs, to go ahead and give a little birthday shout out to Heather Valenzuela. So, Heather Valenzuela, happy birthday to you. Happy early birthday. So, Heather's birthday's not until October 23rd, but I wanted to go ahead and give a birthday shout out. So, Heather's a Perk Squad member, and I wanted to just say happy birthday to you. So, happy birthday. Hopefully, you will have a fun birthday, a good birthday, a relaxing birthday, depending on what you want out of it. So, it's a perk of the Perk Squad there. I also wanted to go ahead before we dive into this video and make an announcement that I am going live. I'm going live here on YouTube this Saturday, which is October 17th. I will be going live at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, my time zone on the East Coast of the United States, which will equate to 1 p.m. in Pacific Standard Time, so that's like the LA time zone. That's 9 p.m. at night if you're in the UK. And that's 4 a.m. unfortunately for anybody in the Hong Kong time zone over there. But that's 7 a.m. for all of you in the Sydney, Australia time zone. So, if you can join me this Saturday live, we'd love to have you. If not, usually we keep the replays up as long as nothing went wrong and everything's appropriate. So, just wanted to let y'all know about that. But without further ado, today's video. What is today's video about? Why is this so different? Well, this is why. So many of you have been asking for a long time, what is it like to have a private reading? Because I tell people all the time, if you want to book a private reading with me, the description box below has all the details. You can schedule it yourself by clicking the calendar link. It doesn't matter where in the world you are, because Skype is international. So, literally tonight, I just had another private reading with one of y'all, and literally after the very first question that was asked, we started recording, and I don't usually record. That's just not something that usually happens. Don't usually record these readings, but we recorded this one, and I did ask permission that if I were able to de-identify this completely, would I be allowed to post the audio of our reading together on a video so that people can hear what it's like to have a private reading. I'm not posting video because I want to be respectful to the person who the reading was with, and the video obviously would be very identifying with name and face. So I'm not going to do that. This is just the audio. So go ahead, treat this as a podcast, if you will. You'll just see my logo there on the background the entire time. It'll just be us talking, so feel free to have it playing as you do whatever else around the house, you know, stuff like that. But I just wanted y'all to get a sense for this is what a reading is like. So this wasn't something that we planned beforehand. I have actually never met this person before. I do not know this person. This was the first time we've ever spoken. So this is a real sense for how a reading would go. This is not how it would go with someone that I know or that I'm friends with or that we know a little bit about each other. No, this is as cold of a reading as it possibly can get. So I just wanted you to kind of see how that goes, and also see the difference in, asking questions of the tarot in an open-ended way versus a closed-ended way, right? So I've told you before that tarot is not always the best or the most accurate at doing yes or no, or at doing exactly how long will this happen or take, or exactly when will this do something, or exactly how much money will this happen, things like that. Not so great at it. Tarot's not really for that, but tarot is for all the context that you could have in the world. As you've seen from my rabbit holes and videos, lots of context. And so you can see now in an example of a private reading how that might go. And of course, readings will go very differently depending on the different questions people ask. Some people ask questions about love. Some people ask questions about career. Some people ask questions about finance, about moves, about their relationships with colleagues or with family or loved ones. All kinds of things people will ask around tarot, and that's okay. So this is just a sample for all of you who have been curious. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and link y'all into the video. If there are any audio cuts, it's because maybe there were some moments of sensitive information or information that might have been inappropriate to put in here that I have omitted. Again, out of fairness and kindness to the person who allowed the recording. And hopefully this is helpful for all of you who have been asking. And if you'd like to book a reading with me, hello, Bodie. Why, hello, son. Bless you. Did y'all hear that sneeze? If y'all'd like to book a reading, like I said, in the description box below, you'll see the link. You can do it yourself. I offer 30-minute readings or 45-minute readings for you to book. So let's get into this so that y'all can see an example of how this goes. And anybody who has had a private reading with me, if you would like to, in the comments on this video, share a little bit about your experience, you can. You absolutely do not have to. No pressure. But just in case there are people who have been on the fence about having a private reading and what that might be like, please, feel free to share, a little review, even, if you will, whatever have you, however you call it, a little something in the comments, so that people kind of have an idea further of what to expect. And just for people who will ask, my calendar does book out, but if you ever see that it says something like there's no more openings in October, you can advance to November and look if there's openings. And if there, for whatever reason, weren't any openings then the calendar goes every 90 days. And so every day there will be a new day that comes up with new openings that come up, and you can check back. And there are different options. Like I said, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, or people that want an express reading. If you don't find something open for a 45-minute reading, check the 30-minute reading slots and see if there's anything open. If there's not anything open for that and you want an express reading, check the express slots and see if there's anything open for that. So, play with it. Alrighty, let's get into it. Bye for now, y'all. Love you, mean it. Love you, mean it. The question here was, what do my guides need me to know right now? Okay, it seems like they're bringing up maybe a couple of different things here. See where that's leading us, and if I need to pull more cards on any of these things, then I absolutely can. But from where I'm starting so far, is there something that would resonate you about either communicating or working things out with somebody who is most likely female? And I guess that could even be concerning yourself, but probably someone else, anything like that you can think of?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. I'll tell you why I'm asking, and then maybe as I move on with things, things could become more clear. So I'm seeing something here. This is just about some form of communication, and it could still be that this person is yourself in some sort of a way, because as silly as it sounds, we do in some ways communicate with ourselves. We have our internal dialogue. We have our own ways of kind of processing through that. And so I'm seeing like you working on things, and I guess if this doesn't resonate as being someone else, I'm just going to read it as if it is speaking about yourself. But working on something as it relates to some form or fashion of communicating to yourself, or your own internal dialogue or something of that nature, because I do get this figure up here. And with the Ace of Swords in reverse, this is saying that there may be some things that you, like if we're talking about yourself, that you either may not see it clearly, or you may be overly self-critical about it, or may have some self-doubts pertaining to certain things in your own mind, or things like that, where you might be harsher on yourself than maybe someone else would be if they
That's
were
me
kind
all
of.
the time.
Oh yeah, okay. Okay, well then there we
Yep.
go. That's where this is going. So they are talking about you with yourself then. So okay, that threw me for a loop because it was a communication card, so I'm always going to think of someone else first, but that makes sense then for them to be kind of using that for you. And with the next card, that also makes sense for it to be you, because now we're bringing up the High Priestess upright. And this is kind of a card that I don't usually get in the upright position unless I'm referring to someone who actually has some sort of sensitive or abilities or things like that themselves. So I don't know if you considered yourself as being, spiritually sensitive, or
Yeah.
as being you do. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't want to influence you. I don't flip cards for myself.
Mhm.
And I've never had a tarot reading. It's usually Oracle.
Mhm.
So I'm like, if I'm going to have a tarot reading, it's going to be somebody that I don't know, has no clue about me.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But okay, so now the cards are already kind of picking that out then. So
Yeah.
they do see you as being an intuitive some sort of a way, sensitive in a spiritual sense, because they wouldn't have given me that card in the upright position if you weren't. So they're showing that in the upright position as being a good thing for you, and something that they look forward to you exploring more. But there's something about that self-talk, that inner dialogue, that they're wanting to shift. They're giving me the Justice card in reverse, which is its way of saying that something is out of balance as it relates to that inner dialogue and self-talk, in a way that would be unfair to you. And then they're also giving me this Five of Wands in reverse, and the Five of Wands is a conflict card. You see these people over here hitting each other with sticks, but in that reverse position, it's like it's talking about an internal mechanism once again. So internally, you kind of beating yourself up, or internally, you having some inner conflict about things. So, what it's looking like here is that they're just saying, if there's some ways that you can acknowledge when you're doing this, see if you can change the dialogue, see how you can reroute those thoughts or reframe those thoughts into something that's more productive or positive, or whatever have you. So it's like those are the things that they are kind of pulling up the most in that top row. Let me see.
It makes sense to me.
Okay. Okay. In this bottom row, this is looking kind of interesting. Have you had, and to me, I think this feels a little bit more past or present, not so much future, but have you had some sort of an ending that probably was maybe not a very easy ending to go through with either a male or a female, or it could be both together?
I mean, I can apply that to several things. I moved from California to Massachusetts 6 years ago,
Hmm.
and that was kind of, for some people, I think it was abrupt, even though it was something that I was working up the courage to do for like 2 years.
Hmm.
So I think for like some people, it was abrupt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll read through the rest of these cards and just kind of see what they're saying and see if it fits more specifically into one of those kinds of categories for you then. Because I did get this card. It was something about endings, and usually something that ends in a way that doesn't feel so great. And then like I said, I got this male card here and this female card here. So that's what made me think that it was affecting more than just one person. I also see something here about feeling like things weren't really what they seemed to be, and that you kind of in some way felt like, I don't want to say given up, but kind of felt like, this isn't worth it anymore, or don't really want this anymore, or there's no reason to pursue this anymore, or something like that, where you just didn't feel like hanging in there anymore, and you felt like moving in a different direction per se. And something that would kind of make your anxiety feel a bit better, make your emotions feel a bit better, because this is a very emotional card with the moon, and maybe even relating to like, okay, wow, I know a little bit more about this. I didn't think it was going to be like this, but you're really opening my eyes to, something. It's kind of like that eye-opening situation in a way that it felt better when we didn't have our eyes opened, I guess, so to speak. So that's kind of what that bottom row is speaking to,
That
whatever the
feels to me like,
situation that is.
yeah, that feels to me like the move and um, I left my job of like 13, almost 14 years. So for them, it was very abrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was not a fun job. The pay
Mm-hmm.
was good, but in the end, it just didn't fit me.
Yeah.
It didn't fit me anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. I'll pull a couple more cards to ask, what specifically are the guides bringing up this about? Like, why? So let me see. Why are we bringing this up? Okay. Okay. They're saying that they're bringing this up because it was a tower moment, which means it's just a really big deal moment in your life. And it was like, okay, wow, everything is kind of just crumbling down from here. I've got to make some big decisions now, because that's what this is. It's like, now I've got to make some big decisions and big changes. And it even here with the relationship card is like, this is going to affect my relationships with people. I mean, it's just a big thing. It's going to affect so many different layers of my life. And here with the magician card, this is saying in some ways you may have felt like, I don't know if I even have all my ducks in a row for me to be able to manage this. I don't know if I have the resources I need. I don't know if I have what it takes. Here I am, just kind of out here in the middle of the sea, sink or swim, sink or swim. What do I do
That's
with that?
exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Because I just got to a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was
Mm.
like, oh, I'm done. It's like I gave my notice, and I'm telling you, when I left HR
Mm-hmm.
after my exit interview, I felt like wings.
Wow. Wow.
But yeah, I had no clue what I was going to do. I was like, I don't know. I'm just throwing it to spirit. They're telling me that I need to move.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna move.
Yep. And the funny thing that you just said about throwing it to spirit, and you said to move, and that you felt like that confirmation from them. It's funny because there's only two other cards that I have pulled here for so far. One of them is the card I get for people making a move, and the other card I get is what my spirit guides give me if somebody's on the right path with that. So it looks like they're bringing this up because they just want to confirm to you that you were getting all of this information from spirit. It was the decision that was on the right path for you. You did do what you needed to do, regardless of how it may have felt conflicting or weird or whatever in the time. They're just like checking off all those boxes. And so again, this is a testament to that card that I got earlier with the high priestess upright, talking about how, you know, spiritually sensitive you are, that you are very good at channeling what your guides are kind of trying to give you signs about. And whatever way it is that they speak to you, it seems like you're pretty comfortable with that, and you kind of get it, and you just follow your intuition based on that. And they're just confirming and validating that here.
So this is funny. Before I moved to Massachusetts, I knew I was going to be here for between 5 and 10 years, and then I was going to move to the Pacific Northwest.
Mm-hmm.
And that, again, is another, I'm throwing it to spirit. I don't know how that's going to line up. I don't know how I'm going to get all my ducks in a row to do that. So that was one of my questions. What do I need to do, I guess, to facilitate that, or like the pros and cons of that?
Okay.
And if you have a time frame, if you can pull a time frame.
Okay, let me grab all these cards and shuffle them back into the deck so we can have a full deck that we're working with. It's about the move to Pacific Northwest. Any insights you can give us so far on that, please? Let's see. This card here is conflicting. I'm going to just toss one time to see if it changes its position. Upright or reverse, please. Okay, it did. All right. Sometimes when I get a conflict, I'll just throw it just to see if it swivels and it changes. And if it doesn't, I'm like, okay, there's something to it. I guess I'll pull extra context on it to see why it is that way. But nope, it swiveled the way that it seemed like it was meant to. So that's good. That makes things more clear. So, all right. So I'll just start with this so that I can kind of do each portion of your question at a time so that they don't, you know, as I'm sure you've seen in my videos, if I just give them a whole set all at once, then I get everything in the kitchen sink and it doesn't narrow things down for people. We end up down too many rabbit holes at one time. So this is me trying to streamline for you. So the first thing I get, just asking about insights about it. It's kind of validating that once again, you're doing the same thing you were before about casting it, throwing it to spirit, and hoping that that means you're picking up on the influence that this is the right fit for you. And they're validating that once again, because I have the star card up right here, which is the perfect card for new beginnings and making big life changes like that. The Three of Wands card is a card that I get when I'm talking about making a move, because that's what this person is kind of doing. So that's another great card. The card that I swiveled to check, just wanted to make sure that this was in the upright position, because this is also a card I get for people who are considering moving or will be moving. So it makes sense that they're giving me two cards that's like, yes, on the move, yes. So for them to give me double, that's pretty emphatic that you're picking up on that. So then they give me this card that can sometimes stand for family, but it can sometimes stand for kind of karmic decisions where we just feel drawn towards certain locations, and it's just kind of where our soul line is taking us per se. And so to me, that's kind of what this feels like for you. It's almost like, and this is hard, you know, this is going to sound abstract, but you're spiritual, so I'm sure it won't be too bad for you. But like I'm getting the kind of pictures in my head as if it's like you live a certain place and you impart your energy onto that place, and that place imparts energy onto you, and y'all are both having this reciprocity with downloading and uploading, you know, with that signature in that place. And then you get done with that, and then you do the same thing in another place, and it's almost like you're one of those spiritual activator types then, that you're meant to kind of do that and, you know, take certain times and do that. And it's very interesting because I've never met one of those people before. So this is new for me to meet you, because I've heard of people like that, and I'm like, really, that sounds like a very, you know, big purpose in life actually to have, because that's feeding the world in different ways and the people around you, and that's incredible. So I was like, oh, I wonder, you know, what those people are like and stuff. And so now apparently you are one of them. And I imagine you've probably then felt that way, some sort of a way yourself, that you kind of give to that area and the area gives back to you, and there's some sort of a reciprocity in an energetic spiritual way. Very abstract, but that seems to be what's going on here in this lifetime for you, which is very important. It's like you're calibrating the world and the world's calibrating you, and by you calibrating the world, it's doing good things for the world, and then by the world calibrating you, then everybody that you come into like correspondence with, they automatically are like receiving the download from you. It's like you're just spreading it in a good way. So it's like the opposite of COVID spread. It's like a happy spread, you know, a good energetic virus, so to speak, that you have going on here. So this is actually incredible. This is a first for me. I love this. So I see that is happening here. The other thing I get, once again, it has, even if I shuffled multiple times, it has given me this High Priestess card in the upright position. So this is really your signifier here. And again, to be quite honest, this is another first for me, that in a reading, I have twice now pulled the High Priestess card. Usually I only pull it once, and it's kind of gives that verification, and then it goes away and it doesn't present itself again. So it's doing it again. And to me, that is very purposeful and important, because once again, that's kind of reiterating how spiritual your purpose is here in this incarnation. So that's cool. And the only other thing that they've given me before we go into our tangential questions is they've given me the Seven of Cups, which is saying that there will be a lot of things to juggle with this particular move. There may be some things that feel overwhelming, stressful, and I imagine most moves have some level of overwhelming stress because moves kind of suck, but it's kind of just giving a heads up that there may be some elements of that with the move that might throw some curveballs and things like that, but I didn't get any distressing cards around that, so I'm not led to believe anything really crazy, really bad is going to happen around the move that you should know about, but just as kind of a normal heads up, so to speak. Okay, so that's that first set. Let's see, in terms of the other questions that you have, let me move these up around the move. Tarot, for me, has traditionally not done the best with time frame, but what I'll do is I'll ask it anyway, push my luck and ask it anyway, and if I get any in the cards, I'll let you know. At most, or at minimum, what it usually allows me to do is know if something's happening sooner or farther off in the future. All right, so just like I figured, I'm not getting like a number per se for like weeks or months, but I am getting a solid theme here, because they're giving me the Two of Swords upright, which says that you still have a lot of things to kind of think about as it relates to the move. And so there's a lot of things that still need to kind of fall into place before you could be in the kind of, I guess, immediate forefront of being able to make a decision like that. And the other three cards that I get are very slow moving kind of cards. So I get the Hermit card. He's kind of a slow moving guy, taking time, doing some soul searching, researching, you know, all of that kind of stuff, reflecting. And then I also get this Chariot card in reverse. Of course, when it's up, fast moving, but in the reverse position, it's a bit of an all stop. He's kind of stuck in traffic there. And then I get the Knight of Pentacles as the last card. And out of all four knights, the Knight of Pentacles is the slowest card, the slowest knight in the deck. However, he's Mr. Dependable. So he does get that coin, he does get that prize, he does get where he wants to be. It's just a slow and steady wins the race type of card. So that's kind of him. So I'm not seeing this, I'm seeing the move as being definite and encouraged, but I'm not seeing it as being in your near future, so to speak. So I wouldn't think the move would be happening in 2020 is what it looks like to me. I'm not seeing that at all. I'm seeing probably, if I had to try to put a timestamp on it, either later next year or after that kind of thing, depending on your ability to kind of get through those decisions that you have to make. But I do see it as happening and them being like all for it.
Yeah, so that's interesting because the way that my friend taught me to try to get a timeline for things is if it's the swords, it's a quick move. It's like that's about number of days, and then the wands would be weeks. The cups would be in terms of months, and then the earth would be in terms of years. But okay, so I'm like triple air, so all I do is think. So the decision thing like totally fits. Like I'm just gonna think about it. I'm gonna like weigh the pros and cons, try to figure out where I'm gonna go. I don't even know where I'm gonna land. Like I feel Washington. I don't think it's Oregon, but Washington's pretty big. Like I don't know anything about it. I have one friend there that's like, you gotta come visit. You gotta come visit. Well, my guess is probably somewhere around her. But if it would be like 9 years after I moved from California, that would make sense to me.
Okay. Yeah. And for me, and that makes sense, like the system that she's got about the kind of different suits reflecting timelines. And, you know, with everybody that dabbles in tarot, everybody kind of has their own little systems that work for them. And what I have noticed, and I think it's because I'm a counselor, and so Spirit knows my forte is around context and helping people and emotions and processing things and stuff like that, and healing and making linkages. And so what I've noticed is I have not found that I am as strong at those finite closed-ended questions about give me a number or give me a yes or a no or things like that. I noticed that my accuracy level actually drops when I do that, where sometimes I'm accurate and sometimes I'm not as accurate as I would hope to be for those finite things. But then the textual stuff, oh, they'll give me that all day long with all kinds of accuracy. So I'm like, okay, I see what we got here, Spirit. So I get annoyed because I'm a triple fire sign to go with your triple air. And so I'm all about, but I just want to know something fast and just give me the quick and dirty. And they're like, that's not how we're going to work with you. And so I've had to kind of just deal with that and go with the flow of it. And so the most I get is like soon or later, or the most I can get with a yes or no is like, this is kind of the pros and cons of if you tried to do it this way versus the pros and cons of if you tried to do it this way. So it looks like this might be an easier path than this path. And that's kind of how it'll let me do, but it won't give me just that quick and dirty type of thing so far. Yeah.
But it makes sense too because we all have our own choices to make, and those timelines can change based on our decisions.
True.
So I think the broader the energy is, then the more opportunities there are for people to like make adjustments and to align with different things. So that to me makes sense because of what you do for work. And what you do is you provide that space.
Yes. Yeah. Very much so.
Let's see. I don't know. The other broader questions I had, the biggest influence in my life right now, besides all these retrogrades that are
Yep.
It's time to go within. I understand, but come on.
I know. I get so sick of going within. I'm like, come on, man. I go within with everybody. I'm tired of going within. Like, my whole day's going within. I don't even know how to be grounded anymore. Like, come on. How many different meditations can I do to be grounded? Because I'm floating all over the place. So, I get it. All right.
Especially as triple air, yeah.
Yeah, true.
With Mars in retro, you're going to feel that.
Yep. All right, Spirit. So, what are the kinds of influences going on right now and things that you would like to make known as a result of that. Okay, interesting here. So, first and foremost, they give us 3 different Pentacles cards. So there's something going on in possibly influencing kind of decisions you're making and where you are based on stability or career or finance or things like that. Because they're giving me the King of Pentacles upright, which is a good card for abundance, and the Four of Pentacles upright, and then the Ace of Pentacles upright. So with the king and that ace, it's a good thing about, abundance and securing, the finances that we need to do the things that we feel like we are led to do and all of that. But with that Four of Pentacles, sometimes that can talk about, I guess, having a good balance of control when it comes to our focus on earthly material things. So, and it's not saying necessarily that you are out of balance with this. I don't really see that, but it's talking about kind of towing that line on how much is a good amount of focus for those material things versus having focus on other areas of your life. So I think more than them trying to give any advice about that, it's just bringing it as a point of awareness, just to have that, just to name it out. But then also it brings that up relationally to this Three of Wands, which was the card we got first about that move. So it is talking about kind of finding a good balance of that financial stability in relation to helping with the move that comes later. So planning and things along with that. And again, I'm not seeing anything here that makes me feel like you've done anything wrong with that. So it's probably them validating that the things that you're doing with that in mind is a great start, or that the things that you're thinking about doing with that in mind is a great start. So something about that. And then I get 2 cups, where I get the Ace of Cups upright and then the Temperance card in reverse. And with that, it's kind of talking about, I guess, that there's some emotional gifts that the universe is kind of giving, and being able to receive those gifts, being able to balance those gifts, to utilize those for your purpose, for your mission, things like that. Again, I feel like they're more validating you than trying to instruct you to do something different. But with that Temperance card in reverse, that does sometimes mean that there could possibly be an imbalance, and that could tie back to what we were talking about at the very beginning about, the kind of thinking within yourself where you might be overly critical of yourself, or not giving yourself that kind of proper balance, or not allowing yourself to receive the gifts that they're trying to give you emotionally, because you got to think about things, or you got to do things, or whatever. And it's kind of like, all right, take a pause, open that up, take it in, close it up, now get back to business as usual. So it's kind of like taking in that pause, allowing that moment for breath, so that you can take in whatever it is that they are handing you, because they're saying they're handing you this so that you can kind of sustain yourself easier, to keep you from burnout per se. And it's like, if you don't make the time for receiving and kind of giving yourself that grace, then you could, burn your engine up a bit there, and might work against you. And you're not at that point yet, but it's, again, just bringing a point of awareness and attention to it.
This is funny. You're answering my other questions without me asking.
Your guides must know already what you want, and they're already working through me. I love it when people have very opinionated, talkative guides, because then it makes things really easy for me to see and know what they mean. Some people's guides are a little bit more standoffish, and I'm like, so does this resonate with you? And I have to try a little bit harder, but sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm just going to talk and talk and talk, because I know exactly what they're getting at here. And I'm like, thank you, guides. So yeah, I love your guides. Your guides are awesome.
Yeah. Do you think that's because of the relationship your client has with their spirit guides?
I think it has a large part to do with that. Yeah, at first I wasn't sure, but after I've done like quite a few of these private readings, over the years, I have found that the more people have either a relationship with their guides, or the more people have a tailored sense of self per se, that those two things really help. And so people who have both, it's just boom, laid out pretty easy. Yeah.
Interesting how that works.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. You kind of answer that. She answered that. I kind of answered that too. I mean, I don't know if they'll give me anything different, but I did have like what is coming into my awareness about my soul's purpose.
Mm. Okay.
But I feel like you already kind of touched on that.
Well, we can take a look and see if they have anything else to add. What's coming into awareness about your soul's purpose? They might have something else. A lot of times we have multiple purposes or things that we are contributing in this lifetime. This card flew out, so I guess I'll pull this up here. Well, upright or reverse. Okay. So okay, so what I am getting here, this is kind of several different things, and it's interesting because I'm kind of feeling that some of these you may feel like, yep, I realize that about myself, but maybe one or more you might feel like, oh, really? So, the things that I think that you would feel like you resonate with is we have this Page of Swords. So obviously with the sword suit talking about mental clarity and things, and you being a triple air sign, it's like you with whether you intend to or not, you bring a lot of mental clarity to your space and the people around you. You have good wisdom to impart. It's like you kind of just know things sometimes, whether that makes sense or not. You just know what you know, and it's kind of infectious. So it's like if there's anybody that doesn't have those kind of skills or talents being around you, you just kind of impart those things on them. And I think that kind of has to do with like what we were talking about earlier about you imparting the same with the geographic location. It seems like you're kind of that way with people too, and especially as it relates to this kind of mental clarity and things like that. It can even be in some way a bit of a creative energy, even if that doesn't necessarily equate to creative as in like artistic, but creative as in like creating something new. It could mean that creates new thoughts and ideas within people that are like, oh, I haven't thought of it that way, or oh, I didn't, realize that, or something. There's like these aha moments that I feel like you give people, and so that's kind of part of this, and that's the same thing as what this Knight of Swords is saying, basically that same type of scenario here. So that part I feel like you probably have an awareness of already.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. The part that you may or may not is I do see this Six of Wands next to this Three of Cups. And so for that, there's some sort of I don't know, it's like you either bring a lightness to a room, like you bring light and not heavy energy. It's kind of something about people feeling either comfortable or feeling like they can be more of their best selves in some kind of a way. There's some sort of a way that people might be connected to you but not really understand why they feel like they're drawn to you or gravitate towards you. It's a weird dynamic. I don't know. But it would make people feel good. So that's pretty cool about this. I just have a sense that you probably aren't really aware of that, or haven't really thought of that or something, but there's some kind of an effect that you would have on people in terms of making them either feel relaxed or kind of lighten the mood or something like that. I don't know. Is that making sense for
Yeah.
you? Okay, so that does make sense for you. Good, good. Yeah, so I see that, and that you would be really good at that, whether you're setting out to do it or not. It's just natural. It just happens. So those are parts of, your kind of purpose, things that you're here to help with. And so with that, again, here we have old Knight of Pentacles, old Mr. Reliable here. And that's good, because then that means people see you as reliable. Even when you were talking earlier about people seeing your decision to move as being abrupt, even considering that, it's like in general, you come off as trustworthy, you come off as dependable, as reliable, so it's like people feel, I guess, emotionally safe around you, because they feel like, I know what to expect. There's nothing that's going to be, crazy and unpredictable coming from this person. And that sense of safety is also useful to them in this emotional way, because again, the moon's about emotions. And so it's like with those things, with those three things, you kind of having that, mental clarity and wisdom, and opening new ideas for thoughts and aha moments, you having that kind of effect to lighten things, and then you having that effect to have people feel that kind of dependability and safety. Those are really good things, because in this day and age, especially in 2020, Lord help us, there's not enough going around for people to feel those kinds of things. And when we get stuck in anger or fear, we're not doing so well in our lives. So for us to come into contact with somebody that brings us into these states, that lifts us up and lifts our energetic vibration up for a bit as well. And then we can become better light workers ourselves. We can be more productive in our lives. We can have better interactions in our lives. We can see things through ways we wouldn't be able to see it if we were feeling depressed or anxious. And so it's like you open that door for people, and that's really important. So yeah, even if we touched on at the beginning that your purpose kind of geographically has some kind of a reciprocity like that, you also have some sort of a reciprocity like that with people too, which would be one potential benefit for you moving around so much, because then you get in front of different people every time you move. You have, new surroundings, new people, and so you can quote unquote happily infect more people that way, which would be positive in a spiritual sense. So yeah, you're a very infectious person in all the best ways, and this is a first for me, and I'm loving it.
Oh, a bunch of firsts.
Yeah, I know. It's incredible.
So do they have any advice for me on how to make my current place of residence, I don't know the word, like more effective, or how do I make the most out of my current place?
Okay. How do you make the most out of your current residence, you were saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. One of these cards, your guides have jokes. One of these cards is kind of funny. Oh, man. All right. So, okay. So the joke part before I get into the more serious stuff is this card that's like, well, you move. And it's like, yeah, okay, we get it. All right, there's a move in the future, but in terms of right now, so that was kind of funny. But in terms of right now, they are showing that there is some sort of, like, this is kind of the card of feeling out in the cold, feeling like something's missing or something's left out, some kind of a cold sterility, I guess, so to speak, to something. So what they're putting here, they actually give the Hierophant upright, which is sometimes connected to like religious ideations or institutions or things like that. So if you have, any kind of religious or spiritual affiliation that you feel like you would use that in your space, because some people have certain types of ceremonial things that they want to do, or invocations or revocations in their space, or things like that that kind of help them feel connected to their space or help them shift the energy in their space. There's things like that that are coming up around this. I do see that whatever work you put towards it, you will feel like it's worth it, because this is kind of like carrying that extra load in a way that actually does feel like it was worth it. It was something that paid off, so to speak. I do see here too with the moon card, again, we're talking emotionality and connecting. So there's some sort of I guess an improvement that could be made by way of your connection to the space. And I don't necessarily know the advice to give on how better to connect, but since you kept getting that card with the High Priestess, I think that intuitively, as you start to kind of either meditate on it, pray on it, something, that there will be things that come to you that you're like, okay, boom, I feel connected to that idea. That idea resonates with me, that kind of a thing. So I do see that. I see with this Seven of Wands upright, there's something about the space that you could either be more creative or passionate about, like pouring either more passions into the place or more creativity in the place. It's like some kind of a bringing yourself to the place. So it's like, as just an example, and this doesn't necessarily apply to you, but like if somebody has a passion for outdoorsy stuff, they might either decorate their place with more outdoorsy stuff or bring some things in that feel like that connection. Or if somebody is like, oh, I'm a painter, they might, carve out a space in their home that's like, this is my painting area, or something like that, to give some like more meaning and purpose specific to you to the place. And again, I see you working on things that you feel like pays off for you and deepens that connection. And in some ways, this is kind of funny too, that with this Page of Swords in reverse, it's almost like a don't overthink it type of card. So it's kind of like the analysis paralysis thing could happen, to where you overthink something to the point that you take all emotion out of it, because now all we have left is pure thought. And that's part of what would create the problem. And so it would almost be, a self-fulfilling prophecy, or a what do you call the starts with a V, with the vindictive cycle or something like that, where it's like, I do this to help with this, but then it just makes this go forward and now I'm back here. And so it's that kind of a thing. So I think this is actually going to be easier said than what you might, or easier done than what you might have thought it could be, or had concerns about it.
Okay. That makes sense to me. I think you kind of answered everything. All right. Good timing.
Yeah, very good timing. And yeah, I know we had some little Skype issues at first, but it's like your guides knew, okay, let's make up for a little bit of lost time there. We were only like 5 minutes set back or whatever, but it was just so they felt like, you could get everything you needed out of this time and not feel like, crap, the lost time made a difference and now I didn't get to ask this. So it's like they gave you a couple twofers in here.
Yeah, so the High Priestess card, what's happening outside? It makes sense to me because I have a lot of background in healing and divination. My business now is selling crystals.
Ah, awesome.
I don't do readings for money, but I'll do them. Mostly with Oracle. I was actually watching your channel that I was like, I'm gonna try tarot again, because tarot to me is like, it's too grounded in the third dimension, and the Oracle is like, I like to be out.
Yep.
But like, I'm always like, oh, Oracle card. Yeah. And the, I don't know, 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 I don't know healing modality that I started to learn since I moved to Massachusetts is very high vibrational, and I believe that's what they're telling me about the current place of residence, because I've got one more level to finish, and then I'll be at the highest level that I can be without being a teacher for it.
Oh.
And my friend that tried to teach me tarot, she has downloaded information from a collective group of consciousness, aliens, whatever you want to call them. And they gave her very specific energetic patterns for people that they play out in their life. And mine happens to be that of a connector.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're telling me like where you go is like you have this symbiotic relationship with the earth, and and it's like reciprocal, right? Like that's exactly what I do. And I
Nice.
anchor light. I actively anchor light into the crystalline grid.
Great.
Yeah. So that's why I was like, yeah, okay.
There we go. Yeah, that's your validation. You're like, well, cool. Yeah, I was like, okay, this is so abstract. Hold on, this is what I'm seeing. I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly. And then boom, that now it makes perfect sense. Awesome.
Yeah. So and that was a vision that my friend had 4 years ago. She was channeling, and we were just starting to work with that collective energy. And she's like, I see a pillar of light here in Massachusetts. And she's like, there's another one across the country, somewhere on the West Coast. And I was like, I think I know what that's about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's that. And then there's something else that I was kind of laughing, but not laughing at you.
No, I get it.
Yeah, it's like everything I was like, what's coming into my awareness, and you're like the mental clarity and like the lightness and the connection to people, and like that's all my connector energy. That's what happens.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, I love this. Like when this happens and I have something that I'm like, I don't know how to say this. This is so abstract. I hope the other person will understand and kind of be able to fill it in. And so I love that you're able to understand it, and then it kind of explain it back. And I'm like, okay, that's how it lands. And so it's like that helps me too. So thank you for that. I'm glad that fits, and that it validates all the things that you've been feeling about yourself and getting. So cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love this.
I can give the validation back, I will give it back. Because I know sometimes in readings people are like, I don't know what this is, I'm just gonna say it.
Yep. It's like, I'm just seeing it, so I'm just gonna say what I see. And that's what I do on the videos all the time. I'm like, okay, I'm just seeing it, I'm just gonna say what I see. And sometimes people are like, that's really vague, or you're speaking in riddles, or I'm like, I don't have a person or an object to tie this to, so this is if you know, you know. People have asked for a Tarot 101, and I keep saying I will do that one day, but I just know, like, every time I think about it, I'm like, oh gosh, and that would be a big thing, and then that would be a big thing. And because it would be such a beast to kind of break it down into bite-sized pieces, with me working full-time YouTube and these readings and stuff on another full-time, I'm like, with 2 full-time jobs, I can't commit to something like that and do it well. And there's no way I'm going to put a tutorial out about tarot and half it. Not for me. And so I was like, okay, I will do that, but I need to wait until, if I am ever fortunate enough to be able to sustain myself with this alone, and can, ease off of the other work that I do, then I would have the time that I feel like I could adequately devote to that. So that's my hope. But if it trails on forever and I never find myself able to do it, then I'll figure out how to bite out the bite-sized piece.
That's another thing people have to understand. Like tarot, like you said in the beginning, like people read tarot very differently.
Very, yeah.
The cards are virtually the same with whatever deck you get, but people will interpret that very differently based on their own experiences.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. And there have been people, they're like, I want your flavor of tarot. So like, okay, one day I will do that. And it might be that it's an ongoing thing where we learn some basics, but then we have kind of ongoing, I guess, like group sessions where we just talk about things. It's kind of, to me, I relate it back to like me being a counselor. We have what we call supervision and things like that, where we staff cases with our supervisors and things. And we talk about the stuff that comes up. How do you handle difficult conversations about about this, or if you're feeling this way, what do you do, and stuff like that. And it's kind of like this ongoing way to debrief some of the experiences that you commonly find. And it could be that we have some videos on how do you do it if somebody is being a particularly, difficult client when you're trying to read for them, or how do you deal when something's like this. And so I thought about that. I thought maybe one day, maybe I'll make another tier to the Perk Squad or something like that, and have like, this is the kind of tutorial tier for anybody that's interested in that, because there's a lot of people on the main channel that only just want to see the entertaining stuff, and they don't really want to learn, and that's fine. But then there's a certain subset that's like, no, I want to learn, and I feel connected to your way of doing it. And so I am thinking about that. We'll see. One day it'll come together. Well, it's been helpful for me. I appreciate it. And yeah, it's been great talking to you both during the reading and then afterwards with all of this.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Dee.
Absolutely. And I hope you have a great rest of your evening.
You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.